Welcome to this flight of the Retail Pilot. I'm Ken Pilot, former CEO and current brand advisor, investor, and board member. I'm thrilled to share with you some of the insights from retail's leaders and legends, as well as my perspective on retail today. This podcast is sponsored by the following. Want to drive more traffic and conversions on your e-commerce site? Brands that use video see 41% more traffic from search engines. And that's just the start. Meet Firework, the leader in AI-powered video commerce. Trusted by brands like L'Oreal and Unilever, Firework turns any page into an immersive, shoppable experience. From pre-recorded long-form content to short-form and everything in between. With Firework, you can easily integrate social media videos into your product pages and run pre-recorded digital showrooms with shoppable content. Plus, Firework offers AI-powered virtual assistants to personalize shopper experience and drive higher conversion. That's why I'm an investor and advisor. Learn more at firework.com. On today's flight of the Retail Pilot, I am joined by Amy Errett, CEO and founder of Madison Reed, the omni-channel hair color and care brand known for pairing salon quality results with better-for-you ingredients and a modern customer experience. Amy launched Madison Reed in 2013 after a successful career as three-time entrepreneur, senior executive at E-Trade, and venture capitalist, where she helped build consumer brands from the investor side. At Madison Reed, she has scaled the business from a direct-to-consumer upstart into a national brand spanning e-commerce, subscriptions, retail partners, and a fast-growing network of hair color bars. Under her leadership, Madison Reed has served millions of customers and raised hundreds of millions of dollars in capital while building a people-first, values-driven culture. A recognized leader and advocate for women in business, Amy frequently speaks about entrepreneurship, inclusive leadership, and the power of combining technology, data, and humanity to transform legacy industries. Amy, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here, Ken.
Tell me, how does my hair look? Because I am a customer. I think I may need a touch-up.
You don't need a touch-up, and it looks fantastic.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So excited to really unpack what you've done at Madison Reed. It's a great story, but let's kind of go back to the journey. You've been an operator, an executive, and a VC. What was the moment or insight that convinced you to leaving and bet on yourself again with Madison Reed?
So, I talk about this a lot, Ken, that I think it's rare that people have 100% investor DNA and 100% operator DNA. And the whole time I was an investor, I kept feeling like I was an imposter. That's the best word that I could use. And I loved it and learned a ton, but I'm an operator. And so the moment was a combination of finding what I think is this amazing business, this amazing category that has a lot of characteristics that as an investor one would look for, which is an interesting piece of the story, which was I wasn't going to go do anything that I didn't think had all the characteristics of being a successful business. And this one has all those characteristics. So it was a combo of an itch, a very itchy itch, and a combo of finding this category that no one had disrupted and just trying to figure out why the heck that was true. I kept thinking, like, this seems very obvious to me, but to a lot of people, the truth is it still doesn't seem very obvious to them. And so, it is one of those things that people don't know how big the category of hair color is, how repetitive it is, how much it matters to somebody's appearance, their confidence, all those things. So it was just a combo of a lot of different factors, but primarily I have an operator's DNA and it was an itch that I needed to scratch.
Looking back on the earliest days, what were the one or two decisions that most changed the trajectory from an interesting idea to a brand with a national scale?
Yeah, so the beginning of the business was all direct to consumer, and it was focusing on the at-home hair color market, which is 50% of the market. So 50% of the women in the U.S. color at home, 50% go to a salon. However, the dollars are much more skewed in totality to the salon side. So the first piece of the trajectory was, it was our hair color good? And I mean that, like, if you're a product person, you're a retail person, you have to put your stake in the ground around your product. And in our case, I knew very quickly the repetitive sales rate, the retention of people that ordered the box of color, and how often they continue to order, in the cadence and to this day, we hold on to an enormous amount of our customers, right? So I knew, number one, that the color was good. I knew second trajectory was that our claim to take out the harsh chemicals has been something that has proven to be true, because many folks told me you can't make hair color without that stuff. So that was another sort of validation point, which was sort of like, people like it, their hair looks great, it works, so that must be a really good thing. The business was doing really, really well, and then we received a call from Ulta. And in Amy's infinite wisdom, I said to our head of product then, oh, we don't go on someone else's shelf. And our head of product used some choice words, including, you're kidding me, right? And I said, no, you have to understand. She said, no, you have to understand. And so we went to Bolingbrook, where Ulta is located, and we did explained who we were. They had heard my radio commercial. That was the interesting part of all the points of connection when you found a company, is that you want it to be linear, Ken. You want it to be, well, like, this happened and this happened and this happened, and it's a long and windy road with these crazy things that don't seem to go together. So radio commercial, someone from Ulta hears it, calls us. I say, no, we're not on somebody else's shelf. My head of product is brave enough to be like, are you crazy, lady? We go and we leave with a test of 450 stores. And today we're the largest hair color in Ulta by far. It's been and I mean this, exquisite partnership. They are a wonderful company. Hair is a big focus on them. So that trajectory of all of a sudden, it isn't just us selling it, other people want it, and it's on the shelf, and we can win in retail. Then the third marker was the pandemic. And I'm sure you've heard this story before from other e-commerce brands. We were selling a box of hair color every 5 seconds for months. And we were having to keep the hair color coming in from Italy. That's where we make it. And the reason that this part of the story matters so much is it's a combination of, one, we outsold and outstripped every other at-home hair color brand 5-1. So what I knew at that moment was, even the women that didn't want to do it at home, that other 50%, if they were going to buy something, they were going to choose us. So that was a really good sign. And then the second thing was the sheer resilience of the company. Like, I knew we were tough, but I didn't realize how much grit this company had.
Just to put some perspective around it, when the pandemic hit and the world shut down, you have almost 100 color bars now that you operate.
Our own stores, yes.
Your own stores.
Right. We only had 6 then.
Thank God. Wow. How lucky were you?
Exactly. So we only had 6. We did obviously have to shut them down. I think there were 9 open. 3 had been open literally 4 weeks. So there were 6 that were sort of operating, right, with some cadence. And we had over 100 people working in the store. And so I'll never forget the moment where the head of stores and I are having a conversation. He says, well, we're going to have to furlough all these people. And I just blurted it out of my mouth. And I said, no, we're not. And what we pieced together was, our call center has always been certified licensed colorist. So I said, let's just take those people and give them an opportunity to be part of the call center, because people are going to be calling like crazy about, how do I color my hair? They have no idea. We were running, Ken, house parties on Zoom.
Oh my God.
And we were getting 500 and 600 people per house party, and we were teaching them how to color their hair on Zoom. And so the combo of about 70% of the workforce moved over. 30% said, no, I don't want to do that. And we bought we bought 70 Google Chromebooks within a weekend, sent them to everybody to their house and taught them how to use the technology for the call center in 4 days. And, you have 3PLs, people's lives are in danger, right? We were just doing everything we could to keep the lights on and to keep giving people the product. Because the one thing that I try to explain to everybody, Zoom has been a windfall for this company, not just because of the pandemic, but because every single day you look at yourself. You didn't walk around in the world, most people, with a mirror in front of you. So you're looking at yourself and you're saying, my grays, like, this is ridiculous. I got to color my hair, right? So the pandemic was a moment where I understood how good the brand was. I understood the ability we had to be agile, but I really understood the persistence, the grit, and the resilience. This company just rose. I remember talking to the board saying, guys, you have no idea what's going on over here. I said, the wheels aren't coming off the bus, but every single hour I'm rolling it into a garage and pumping the wheels up because they're flat. And that went on for months and months and months. And then as we could roll out of that, we kept a significant group of customers, but a lot of people then, as we started opening stores, knew the brand. They'd use the product. We had this moment where the chain between them and their stylist had been disrupted. 30% of salons closed and never reopened. So there are a million stylists in the US. And so a lot of them found themselves without jobs. So it was a storm, but it was a perfect storm. And then the other side of it, and I mean this, like, we needed to have a lot of empathy for what people had. Little kids, they're on Zooms, the kids aren't in school. I mean, it was kind of a cluster in a lot of ways, but I think it taught us a lot about our resilience. Then we hit a gas pedal. And so we have opened basically over 94 stores in 4.5 years.
And you mentioned Ulta was your first
Yeah.
opportunity to put
Yeah.
product on another shelf, and now you're working with
Yes.
another small retailer, Amazon. When you look at the business in total, how much is wholesale? What percent is online, and what percent are stores?
Yeah. So the interesting part of our business is that 50-50 thing that I talked about around at home and in salon. We are almost exactly 50-50. So that's an interesting part. Second piece of that is, out of the 50% that is the at-home market, we're about 30% wholesale and then 70% e-commerce. And we call e-commerce Amazon and our own site.
Got it. Okay. So you see that, you're viewing that as one business.
Yeah, because I think that any CEO today who believes that they're going to hold out and protect themselves from Amazon can't live by the following statement. My job is to actually open the brand up everywhere and to meet my customer wherever they are. That's it. And if I don't want to do that, then I'm going to limit the possibilities of people experiencing the product. So we have been on Amazon a little over 2 years. It's grown into a really significant business for us. We've had to learn a lot. It's really different. It's different than running your own site, but I think it's actually made us better. And, you probably do it. You find a brand and then you're on Amazon. You think, oh, is that there?
When you think about competition, you mentioned before salons. Is there somebody that is even close in scale to the size of the Madison Reed business?
Oh, absolutely. The reason is that you are in the salon business. Let me back up. Out of the 50% of women that go to a salon, it's close to 70% of the dollars, 65% of the dollars, right? The majority of that business is cottage. And what I mean by that, it's individual stylists working their own book of business and renting a chair. So most of them rent a chair. They're not employees anymore. There are large entities, Ulta being one. Ulta has a salon in every single Ulta. Regis Corporation, which has, I think, Fantastic Sam's and Desange and a couple of others. there are a number of chains, Supercuts does color. There are a number of chains that Great Clips that do color. They don't do color. No one does color only. So I think the distinction for us is all we do is hair color. That's what we're experts at. So no one's close to us about owning that space. And no one, this is really important, uses the same product in their salon that you could buy directly retail. So what we've done in disrupting the model has been the product's the hero. Product is amazing. And so if you want to do it at home, great. You want to come into our hair color bars, great. You want to buy the box. We have so many people, Ken, that do this. They buy the box and they take it to their own stylist. Awesome.
Wow. I love that.
Because of the ingredient profile. Doesn't smell, reparative to your hair, not as harsh. And, the average woman starts coloring at 38 and colors to 70 every 6 weeks. Do the math. So this is the part that when I started this business, my friends that were VCs are like, why are hair color? Who cares? And I'm like, every woman in the world that does this for every 6 weeks for basically, 30 years of her life, they care.
And as we round out 2025, roughly, what are the annual sales for Madison Reed?
We're in the hundreds of millions and now profitable.
That's a great statement and a good place to be.
It's a good place to be, growing rapidly, going international for the first time. We're still, again, anybody listening to this, these things are just a journey. They are just a long, windy road of a journey. We're going international and, we just went into Mexico with Ulta. We're going to the Middle East with Ulta. We have lots of other retail partners all over the world that are exploring opportunities with us. We're growing our stores dramatically. We're in 15 regions, hubs right now in the US, fortressing those hubs. And that's a membership model. And so we find that women want value and quality, but they want quality. They're not willing to trade their beauty regimes for something that's not quality, but they do want value. And our stores represent an opportunity for them, to get their hair colored as many times as they want in a 4-week period for $80 a month. Like, it's just, it's kind of hard to beat that, right?
And you have a loyalty program. Limitless.
Huge, yeah.
Yes.
Limitless, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and what it means for the brand. How many members or what percent of sales are generated by your loyalty members?
Yeah, so it's separate a little bit so right now there's about a little bit more than 100,000 members in that. And those people, depending on what side of the equation, whether we color their hair or whether they want to color their hair, if they want to color their hair, it's unlimited shipping and credits for the amount of money that they spend and some discounts on a regular basis that they're getting for all other products. On the hair color bar side, if they're part of the program, they get some free products, they get a box, they get additional services. So it's really focused on them choosing the things that they want for their particular hair regime. But it's about, I think it's maybe 120,000 members now. So it's growing pretty dramatically.
One of the things that you've done so well, and we discussed this prior to today, is leaning into AI and formulation. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about technology and what it means to Madison Reed. Because when you think about hair color, I don't get right to AI. I'm not jumping to technology, but it is certainly a secret sauce.
Yeah, from the beginning of the company's genesis, technology was key in terms of our ability to color match you. So remember, I told you at the beginning of the company was we didn't have our own stores. We didn't color your hair. You had to get online and the variability of somebody picking their own hair color to match their existing color is most of the reason why somebody does see a stylist, right? There is science in that. It's not just art. And so right from the beginning, we devised an 18-question quiz that asked you 18 things. And we had ready for this? Algorithm. Sound familiar? This was 11 years ago. we basically had machine learning that you told us the answers to the quiz, and we would present to you three choices of options that your answers said could effectively work on your hair to get the desired result. That's the beginning of machine learning AI. Currently today, 18 million hair profiles. So it has got really smart, really smart. So we have very high net promoter score from the beginning. From the get-go, this is the part that I was telling you that I was looking for, because if I knew that when you purchased it and we got your color right, we had a very high chance of keeping you as a high lifetime value customer. And as anybody knows in these businesses, you must have multiples of lifetime value versus the cost of acquiring a customer. So ours are super high on both sides of the equation, our stores as well as our online e-commerce business. So the first anchor, Ken, was a platform built around AI from the beginning and just gotten smarter and smarter. The second piece is we started about 18 months ago to be curious about what are the things that make the stores most successful. And one of the things that makes the stores most successful are the people that work there, but 100%, right? The culture of the company is not something that you can take lightly. If I had the good fortune of partnering with Howard Schultz when I was a VC. And if you walk a store with Howard, the hallmark of Starbucks was who was the barista? Who was it that brought that person to this special place to treat the customers in a special way? Well, we have some of the same things that happen in our business. It's not just how your hair looks, it's how you feel when you leave the store, right? It's what I call the magic, the Madison Reed magic, that it's a great playlist. It's a hospitality skills. It's a good Wi-Fi. Like, these are all the things a woman wants in this experience of actually having 90 minutes to herself. They want 90 minutes with no kids, no soccer game, no, nothing. They just want to focus on themselves. So what became really clear was, could we use AI to match demand? How many appointments can we predict is coming in per store, per day part, per location, with how many stylists we need to have as labor for that day and day part? And currently today we have an AI model that matches those two things with 95% accuracy 2 weeks in advance.
And this is something you built.
Yeah, we built it. And we have, there are a gazillion more things going on in the company. All those hair profiles I talked about are now being personalized to give you not just the hair color, but the regimen, the system you should be learning, because we know a ton about your hair. Like, this is all now where AI. And then the last thing is we put it into our customer care, our customer service model. So there is a agent called Maddie Q that sits on our app and on our site. And it currently today handles between that and an AI phone system, 75% of every interaction. And the service level is so much better. What AI can do is it's basically mining all the answers of your data that satisfied people. And being, you want to make an appointment at one of our hair color bars, you just go on and say, you can either speak or type, New York City, 3:00 next Tuesday, and it's going to give you every single appointment. Boom, done.
And they're going to know exactly the hair color you need based on your profile.
Absolutely.
You mentioned this last time we were chatting, but in terms of number of hair colors, formulas you have, how many do you have? And are they personalized?
Almost 100 now. They're not personalized. I'm going to say yes and no. So we're not known to make custom hair color specifically for Ken. But what we are known to do, which was the trick of this, we had pre-selected colors that had shade and tone in every tube when we make them. So what your stylist is doing today is they have an index card, trust me, in the back of the salon. And what it's saying is this much violet in, this much chestnut in, this much, ash in, depending on the amount of gray. And then everybody's color is a number. So a 1 is black, the darkest black hair you have. I'm a number 11 at platinum hair, and then just go in between that. So it isn't just your shade, it's the tone in your shade. So that's why somebody who could be a medium brunette, you could have 15 colors that are medium brunette. They just have different tones in them. And so the cool part about us is we have multi-tonal, pre-mixed hair color with better ingredients in the tube. That was the big unlock. Because if you look at on a shelf, you fill in the name of a competitor of ours, blank, they got 8 shades. So that's why it's monochromatic. Looks like there's nothing else on your hair but one solid color. That's not what human beings' hair looks like.
Well, it sounds like a pretty big moat around the business and not one that many could take on. We also talked about extending product or extending into other categories.
Yeah.
And you were pretty quick to say, that's not what we do. And
yes.
Expand on that a bit, because I thought it was very interesting where there might be some adjacent categories, whether it's personal care or beauty, that could be simple add-ons. You looked at that a bit differently.
I think good brands are about the what. And we can name a ton of really good brands. Iconic, great brands are about not just the what, but the why. And to me, the why has everything to do with staying in your lane and being known for this one thing that you are actually better than anybody else at. And for us, it's hair color. Now, the adjacencies that it does allow are styling product, shampoo, conditioner, scalp treatments that are coming out, root cover-up, lots of root cover-up products. So we have a lot of license for anybody that has color-treated hair. We have all the license in the world, right? Protein building, bond building. What we don't have license to do, in my opinion, because we've spent so much in building, what does this company do? We have the titans against us. If anybody believes this has been a layup, they are absolutely wrong. It will not continue to be a layup. It will be hard, torturous, takes grit, because I don't have $1 billion to have somebody on TV floating their hair around with somebody thinking that that's their hair color. I don't have that. So what do I have to do? I have to be great every single day at this thing that when you hear the words Madison Reed, you go, oh, that's hair color. That's what I have to be great at. So, and the market is massive. So the difference would be if I was looking at you saying like, well, this is a really small market, I've tapped out. I have de minimis awareness and de minimis market share. So there's so much headroom here for us.
Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsor. Looking for a 3PL that's truly next level? Cart.com is a 3PL on steroids with nationwide distribution centers and the most advanced AI-driven software solutions from WMS and OMS to TMS, all designed to streamline your entire delivery process. With Cart.com, you get a fully integrated commerce platform that unifies your operations, data, and customer experience all in one place. Their platform combines physical distribution with cutting-edge AI, empowering retailers to scale faster and more efficiently. Whether you're D2C, B2B, or omnichannel, Cart.com connects your tech stack, simplifies your logistics, and powers your growth. From click to customer, enabling distribution for Janie and Jack, Portland Leather Goods, Tom's, and many more. Cart.com. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Simulate. Search has changed. Today's shoppers don't type keywords, they ask questions, full sentences, 35 words on average. Legacy search engines can't keep up, but Simulate can. Simulate's the first AI-native commerce platform powered by Commerce GPT, built to understand intent, not just match words. That means smarter results, fewer dead ends, and higher conversions automatically. Visit Simulate AI, that's with a C, Simulate with a C, to see how context-aware AI is reshaping commerce in-store and online. And we're back. So with all of these, it sounds like so many strong tailwinds where the businesses today, you're profitable, delivering hundreds of millions in sales. One must begin to think, what do the investors want? What does Amy want? Is there an IPO? How do we continue to grow the business? What's the next financial step for Madison Reed?
70% of the revenues of this business are recurring. Again, one of the advantages, I believe, of having been an investor and making those decisions about picking a category that has retention embedded consumption, you get a box, you use it, it's gone. You sit down, you have one appointment, it's gone, right? And high margins, this is a high margin business, right? Very high margins, beauty's typically is you start looking at those characteristics and you start saying, okay, what do those characteristics lead you to believe about the financial wherewithal of what the enterprise value of the company is, right? If I had a crystal ball and I was good at predicting things, I'd probably be a stock picker and sitting in my backyard, Ken, on my lounge chair going, wow, that life is easy. But I'm not. And so what I can tell you is if I look at the characteristics of this business, this thing has all the reason in the world to be an IPO. As I tell people all the time in financials, and they kind of look at me like, Amy, now you've really lost me. You ready for this? This is a SaaS business in a consumer wrapper, right? This is a software as a service business, meaning I get you, you stay a long time. It's like a contract. And I know predictably for 11 years, those cohorts, those group of people that join, how long they stay, and it's a long time. And I know what it costs to acquire you, and I know the margin. Those are all of the reasons that predictable revenue streams of a company become very good IPOs because they're predictable. What do markets like? They don't like surprises, negative or positive, right? But having said that to you, the consumer market for IPOs has been horrifically bad. The number of IPOs this year will be about 70 that are new IPOs in the market, incredibly low. Consumers, in my opinion, so I'm opposite of where the markets are because as an investor, guess what? I like to go where nobody else wants to go because that's where you make your money. So in my opinion, so very controversial, like lots of the big AI plays have probably been invested in, right? That has taken this cycle in a great way. This cycle's amazing. Like we haven't even begun to see the innovation. It's so exciting to me. It doesn't scare me at all. In fact, I look at it and I think, oh my God, this is like I've lived through, mobile, I've lived through this thing called the internet. I was at E-Trade early, right? Like I've lived through I've lived through cloud computing, like go down the list. This is the biggest thing we've ever seen. And we're just scratching the surface. However, it's not like there's going to be a ton of new big companies. There's going to be a lot of verticals. So I look at that and I think to myself, this company has the ability to use AI for more efficiency, productivity, and all those things. But I look at it and I am scratching my head about where's the consumer IPO market. And here's what I really think. I believe that this company is a perfect IPO for the following reasons. The financial wherewithal of what I told you about, the characteristics. The market's waiting for a great story. How many brands can women actually relate to? When I go into stores, which I do all the time, the first thing that people say to me, oh my God, this is a genius idea. I wish I thought of it. Are you public or private? Right? Can I invest? And the reason is because it actually affects their life. How many brands affect a professional woman's life in a way that's so unbelievably emotional? And so I love our chances. Now, having said that, companies with hundreds of millions of dollars and just profitable don't turn around and become IPOs. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of execution of EBITDA growth, top line growth continuing, proving we can go into different markets, proving that it's a sustainable model, proving that our membership and our stores perform. We have a long way to go. So I look at that and I think, absolutely, this has the characteristics, but this is not done. And it excites me that you could hear probably a little bit of Amy's crazy in my voice. But I waited all my life for this one, Ken. I'm not letting this thing not come over a goal line.
Look, you're in an exciting place. I mean, as for all the reasons you've already noted, one thing you can't discount is the cost of opening up each of these units, because
Yes.
the capital cost.
Yes.
Typically, I'm familiar with payback being anywhere from 18 months to 2 years. It's kind of an average payback for anybody opening up stores. How is the payback on a store model for Madison Reed based on the salon and the expense of opening up a unit?
So believe it or not, the units aren't that expensive. So they look expensive. We've done a very good job, from V1 to V98. You just learn a lot. You know that. You're a retail person.
Sure.
You realize hey, that lighting at scale could look like this. I will tell you that the early stores payback wasn't very good because they were brand shrines. We had a windy road where it was like, let's open in Flatiron and spend a lot of money and have it look great. And okay. And it wasn't a membership model. This became a membership model 2.5 years ago. Right. And so now the current stores, crazy good returns. But there's some older stores and vintages that, were profitable in our stores. Some of the stores are doing 30% EBITDA margins, like cooking with gas.
Wow.
But early ones took more time. COVID, you have to close stores for 18 to 24 months. You can't make that, excuse my language, shit up, right? It's just too unbelievable for words. So having said that, and then you open real estate in the middle of COVID, you get 30% better deals on rent. But nobody's coming in the beginning because they're not going to leave their house, right? So, and we had spacing. When I tell you that in the beginning, when we reopened, we had every other chair. We couldn't fill up all the chairs. We had to clean the chairs. We had to wait 30 minutes between people coming in. So there was a lot of stuff that just what I would call didn't give a continuous operational read. Now, the new stores, awesome, awesome, and awesome. So, people will ask me all the time, you're probably going to ask me, well, are you going to franchise these? I would suspect you're moving in that. Is that where you're going here, Ken?
I was going to drop that question. Just know it, looking at growth, if you're not going to the public market for cash, which you may not need to do, and growth can happen, as you mentioned, internationally, you must be looking at partners. How do we roll this out?
Yep. So the answer to those questions is we're looking at all those things. We've had a lot of interest internationally around licensing the brand, right? We've had a lot of interest I got a wait list of people that want to open these in the US if we decide to go in that direction. I would say to you that where the founder needs to be convinced is I went back and told you about the culture. I told you about what it's like to work here, how this is a haven. We offer medical benefits. We pay people 2x what they make anywhere else as stylists. They don't have to get their book of business. We give them the hot tools. There's technology involved. They keep their tips. These are good, really good jobs. I have to make sure that if we sell a franchise to somebody, they understand that's the secret sauce. And from a cultural standpoint, I think we can put controls around that, but that's what we're working right. I'm not worried about their numbers. I'm not worried they can't open a store and get payback. I'm not worried they're not going to have a good lifestyle and have a really good brand. What I'm worried about is you have to pick the people that have the same philosophy this founder has, which is this is to be an extraordinary place for stylists to work. Not an okay place, but extraordinary, a life-changing place. Because if you do that, I don't have a demand problem, Ken. I don't have to teach her 15 miles from a radius around a store to color her hair. I'm not teaching her that. I just have to get her, and then I have to absolutely delight her every time. And the only way you do that is human beings. I got pitched recently, you're going to find this funny, the listeners will probably find, somebody who wanted to convince me that robots could color people's hair in our stores. I can't make it up. And I listened. I was extremely, I was learning. I was trying to be as curious as I could possibly be, while the bubble in my head was, what, WTF.
Right.
And what the person didn't understand is, sure, could it be faster? Yeah. Could it be more efficient? Sure. How long do you think somebody would sit there with somebody's, metal claws in your hair? And what about the personal, emotional confidence that this brand stands for? So these are the areas that I look at and I think, if human beings are scared, don't be scared that we're going to replace a stylist with a robot. This company's named after my kid. This is about a mom who just found a category and decided to do what they thought was best with ingredients and to give every guest in the world, every woman, access to a wonderful product for 90 minutes or doing it at home in convenience and looking great. That's all this brand is about. It's complex and yes, yet it's simple. No robots here, Ken.
I love that. Let's pivot a little bit. Amy, tell me, or if you were to give some advice as a female founder in the beauty and tech space, what are the most important lessons you've learned about fundraising, board dynamics, choosing the right investors?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say is that's the most important thing you're ever going to do. It may not seem that way in the beginning. It may just seem like, oh, damn, I just got to get money. I don't care who it's from. Do not do that. Please do not do that. And the reason is every decision you make has what I consider to be this wonderful thing called unintended consequences, misaligned goals. So you first, as a founder, need to decide what is it that can help you best around the table. Because any investor coming in, capital's capital, help, support, belief, feedback when things are, listen, I'm telling a great story here because it is a great story, but I've had 11 years of a lot of things that didn't work. I'll walk into the office this afternoon and there'll be something that isn't working. That's just the way that it goes, right? So do you want people that just applaud you when it's all going great? That's easy to do. It's when the you-know-what hits the fan that you want a group of people who have seen the trajectories and the setbacks and the perspective and have a long-term view of building enterprise value, right? Those are the people that you want. Building a consumer company most of the time is 10 plus years. It just is. And so, the issue here is like, where do you find your, what I call, your saints, whatever religion you are, those people that you believe in, that believe in you, that you can put around the table and they are unwavering in their support. That does not mean, like, I've had board meetings where board members that are very supportive of me pull me aside and they're like, I'm worried. Awesome. Tell me, educate me, be curious and help me be curious, right? So I would say who's around the table, really important. Don't just have investors, have independents, have people that are operators that you can lean into who have seen this, the cluster on a daily basis, who are like, breathe, just breathe. It's okay. If you cannot have a long run wisdom mindset, continuous learning mindset, please don't do this. Do not do this.
Great advice. I love that.
And so that's and if your investors don't have a continuous learning mindset, if they don't connect you to their other companies, if they don't help you figure out that, like, it's going to be okay, just breathe, right? That's the issue. Now, second thing, what is the things I've learned? It's very hard for male investors. It's very hard for people to invest in things that have no relevance to them. So this has been a long and windy road to convince people that don't color their hair, or most of the guys do, but they don't tell me till after they turn me down. And they walk me to the elevator and they're like, hey, how's my hair look? And I'm thinking, you just turned me down. Do you really want me to answer? So I smile and say, oh, it looks great, dude. It looks awesome. Keep going. The issue is when it's not relevant to somebody and you can't blame them, it isn't relevant. So you want to find when John Callahan from True, who's been our, investor from day one, wanted to invest in me. I said, John, I can't let you do this. You need to go home and talk to your wife. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, it's not relevant to you, dude. So you're not going to be, it's not going to be good for you to not understand. And it's not going to be good for me. So go and talk to Christy. Ask her if she thinks it's a smart idea. Then go get a bunch of women to try the product. Then do this. And when people have done that, they're like, oh my God, Amy, yeah, of course. Right. And then the last thing I'll say to you is, so I would tell a lot of beauty people to try to find women who get it, this is relevant. And there's a lot of great women investors who get it, who have the ability to do the deals. I would also tell people, do not manage against valuation. Big mistake. So if you're looking for the deal that gives you the highest valuation, and then when you raise another round, you want it to double in valuation, you are playing with fire. When you take money from people who actually expect money back, their dollar needs to turn into 3 or 5 or 10, right? Or 30. There's rules of engagement. And the rules of engagement is, do not take that money unless you understand that rule of engagement, which is someday they deserve to get their money plus something back. Now, every great investor, including me, has taken tons of zeros. Tons. Most venture funds, it's a hits-driven business. So the other side of it is, your job every day is to do everything you can to increase the enterprise value of your company for really 2 constituents, right? Number 1, your common shareholders, you and every person that works their butt off for you every day. Never lose sight of that. Never lose sight that they are owners of the company too. And you're doing something every day with your decisions that, creates the ability for them to have that share worth a lot more than the strike price. Second thing, your investors deserve returns. And at the same time, they're big boys and girls. And so you got to make the right decisions. But at the end of the day, when I got a board meeting tomorrow, my job is to actually deliver for my common shareholders, but my job is also to deliver for them. I took the dollars knowingly that at some point this thing's got to be worth a lot more than the money they put at that valuation. And that's okay. So the alignment of the goals, the personalities you choose, the relevance of the product to them, these are all the perfect mix that you need to understand. So you got to put some independents or advisors around you who have been down this road. And by the way, gotten burnt. Because the best way to learn in life is to fall on your butt and pick yourself up and go, next game. What did I learn? Not personal.
Great advice. Really, I hope there are a lot of not only female founders or female entrepreneurs that are listening, but this rule, these lessons are quite applicable to anyone that wants to start a business, and how to view raising capital and who your partners and investors are going to be and what to focus on. One question I did forget to ask is, how big is the men's business? I mean, there must be a few people more than me using it.
The men's market is quite big, not as big as the women's market. There's one, incumbent that owns most market share just for men. And there's a big wide open opportunity there for better ingredients. There's some people tackling it. We have a Madison Reed men's product. So I'll say it this way. About 8% of our business is the men's business, a combination of the men's product, and a lot of men use our permanent hair color that women mostly buy because they prefer that permanency. Our men's product is a lot like Just for Men, where it's a shampoo and you're controlling the amount of coverage that you get by how often you use it in the shower. It's a different technology, a demi-permanent product versus a permanent product. But we have both. We don't have a lot of men that come to our stores. We have some. They all want to sit in the back. They don't want anybody to see them, which is curious to me, because when you think about personal care for men, it's growing, men using skincare. Like, it's great. Like,
Big
you
market.
deserve
It's getting
market.
bigger. Yep.
So I don't understand why it's like such a stigma that men color their hair. You deserve to look great. Your hair looks great, Ken.
Thank you.
Let's just say what it is.
I'm waiting for my next delivery. I'm on, I'm on the subscription model. So when I
Ken,
can,
I love you. God bless you.
All right. We're going to wrap up with rapid fire.
Great.
Most inspirational leader.
I would have to say, from a business standpoint, Howard Schultz.
What hobby do you enjoy most?
Fly fishing.
Favorite streamed show?
Nobody wants this.
If Madison Reed were an apparel brand, who would it
Yeah.
be?
Gucci.
If you could lead another organization, who would you pick?
Oh, it'd be a nonprofit, something in the give back space. So I don't know, I can't name one, but it would impact and purpose driven. And I think skills of business people can translate and give a lot to those organizations that are not for profit.
And with that, we'll land this flight of the Retail Pilot. Amy, Errett, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on just a wildly successful business.
And it's been my pleasure. It's so fun to talk to somebody who really knows, the retail market, and you're a wonderful guy, and it's been super enjoyable. So thanks for having me as a guest.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's flight of the Retail Pilot. And please give us a review on your favorite podcast platform.